Hello there, Internet. This is going to be the first in our skills series of videos, and this is going to be called Turning on the Floodlights. This is a little bit of a riff on an Alan Watts metaphor, where Alan Watts described the sort of state of attention we tend to live our lives in as like a spotlight, illuminating just a very narrow area and leaving everything around it in darkness. So as we go about our lives, we tend to pay very, very close attention either to information coming to us from outside or some narrative running in our mind, and that leaves us blind to the breadth of possible experiences that are available in any given moment. And to extend that metaphor a little bit, imagine watching a play with a full ensemble and you only see a little bit of illumination from a spotlight that's controlled by somebody who doesn't know what's going on. So it's just flitting about from place to place to place. How well would you be able to track what's going on in the play? That's the situation that we find ourselves very often in our lives. So we need to learn to turn on the equivalent of like a floodlight, get broad illumination of the possible experiences that are available to us in a given moment, and then we can pick and choose what we want our experience to be from this broader array of experiences rather than just being stuck on whatever happens to be in the flood or in the spotlight at this moment. So let's talk about some exercises for that, because it's all very well and good to say that, but then the language doesn't actually give you any information about how to go about having that experience. So just a couple of exercises that I like to use, have used historically in my training and whatnot. The first thing is always ask questions. So I did a video about that before, the power of asking questions. It'll probably be somewhere down there. Because once language is added to your toolkit, you get to use your verbal experiences to cue other parts of your brain to provide you information. It's super rad. The question I like to ask for this is just sort of, what else is possible right now? What other experiences could I be having right now? It is surprising how many other experiences will be offered up to you if you consistently ask that question. So that's a practice to get into your life, just to ask the question. Whenever you're having an experience that maybe you prefer you weren't having, ask, hey, can I be having a different experience right now? What else is available right now? And that'll push your mind into this sort of inquisitive mode where it actually finds and delivers that information to you. Another technique is what we used to call in monastic practice just grounding. So just picking a physical sensation and shifting the attention to that and then moving it around a little bit from sensation to sensation to sensation to get a broader picture and to pull your mind away from whatever narrative or external information it's narrowly focused on and start to build a broader picture of what's going on. And sometimes that can just pull you into a state where you're not so focused and you're actually able to get a broader sense of what's happening. So focus on, okay, what does it feel like to breathe right now? Just do 3 or 4 breaths of just, okay, what are the sensations in my torso from that? How does that change the feelings in my neck or in my shoulders? If I'm sitting on something, what does it feel like for that object to be pressed against my body? Those tactile sensations will draw you away from whatever information you're hyper-focused on and start to move you towards a broader experience of what's available to you in that moment. And then you can run through a number of senses. Okay, just looking around, if I look at things in the world, very often I have this very object-oriented view of the world. That's a lamp, that's a bed, that's a light. What do these objects actually look like? What are their shapes? What visual information do I have about their texture? What sort of details do they have? That sort of experience can start to draw you out of a hyper-focused experience. I forgot the next thing. Oh, yeah, manipulate an object. So it can be very helpful then to take that sensory experience to the next level and grab an object in your environment and have a multi-sensory experience of it. So pick it up. Okay, what sort of weight does it have? What are its textures on its surface? Is it squishy or is it firm? What does it smell like? Maybe not what does it taste like for most objects in your life, but just pulling back into a sensory experience and an experience that's based on drawing on a broader range of the information coming into you from the environment, so that you're not either hyper-focused upstairs on some narrative that's running, or hyper-focused on one small facet of your environmental experience. And then sort of the capstone for that is if you're in a formal practicing sort of situation, doing a bodily check-in I find is incredibly helpful to push me into that broader experience and get the floodlights turned on. So just running through your entire body, top to bottom, bottom to top, however you want to do it. If you want to go left to right, that's fine. And just going from body part to body part to body part and going, okay, how do my toes feel right now? Okay, cool. How does the top of my foot feel right now? What about the bottom of my foot? What about the heel of my foot? What are my ankles doing at the moment? Where are my shins happening? What's going on with the calves? And doing 2 or 3 breaths in each of those places and moving through the body can anchor you in sensory experience, and that anchoring in the sensory experience then is going to make it a lot easier for you to take a broader view of all of the experiences that are available to you, sensory and cognitive, in this moment. So that's a couple of things to start practicing with, to start experimenting with, to see what sort of effects does that have on how you experience your world when you are trying to get yourself into this sort of broader understanding of what experiences are available to you. And I hasten to add that, of course, being in a state of attention is not bad. It's part of our cognitive toolkit. It's a very important part of our cognitive toolkit. Sometimes we need to be able to focus on one thing to the exclusion of all else in order to effectively deal with whatever that event, information, or narrative is. Sometimes we really do need to be focused, but we should treat that like a tool in our life experience. And when the occasion for the use of that tool is over, we need to put the tool down. If you walked around in your life with like a screwdriver and a hammer and a saw and a tape measure and every single tool that you might have occasion to use constantly at the ready, you would be encumbered and you wouldn't be able to do all of the other things you need to do in your life. And attention is the same way. So if you're always focused in on one experience all the time, you're going to miss a lot of the degrees of freedom that you have as a human being to determine what your experience should be. And that's no good. So turn up those floodlights, try those exercises, keep on practicing to be a happy human.